meeting. Confirmation of the agenda that the Committee of the Adjustment hereby accept the agenda for the September 3rd, 2019 hearing as presented. Do I have a mover? I'll take Kevin, and seconder is Trevor. All in favor? Carries. Pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we shall move on. Approval of the meeting of the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. The Committee of the Adjustment of the Township of North Huron hereby adopt the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment hearing held August 12, 2019 as presented. Do I have a mover? I have Anita and I have Chris seconding. Scheduled applications. MB 06-2019 Grunman, and forgive me if I said that wrong. Location 356 Summit Drive, Lot 9, Registered Plan 444, Wingham Ward, Township of North Huron. The application owners are Carla and Melvina Grunman. 5.1.1 presentation from the Huron County Planner. Lawyer, that would be you.
Great. Okay, so good evening, Council. So you've seen this application before. It was shown to Council on August 12th. It is minor variance file MV 06-19 on Summit Drive. So at that time, it was deferred by Council to allow for further conversation between the applicant and his neighbor. So just to recap on what the minor variance is requesting, the applicant is proposing to add a one-story open carport garage to their existing house, and the minimum interior side yard setback for the R1 zone for the property is 1.5 meters, and they're requesting to build it at a setback of 0.75, and also to ask for relief from the maximum encroachment for the eaves, so that they can have an eave setback at 0.35 from the setback of the interior side yard. So just reviewing, here's a aerial photo of the subject property. So the carport is proposed to be constructed over where the cars are located currently, over the existing driveway. And this is taken on standing on the driveway of the subject property with the property line shown by the red arrow, and the proposed edge of the carport is shown by the yellow. So that would be the portion that's requesting the minor variance relief, is that setback there. And these were the elevation drawings that were submitted by the applicant to show the design of the carport. So the concerns raised at the August 12th public hearing for the application were that the carport extends beyond the front of the existing house as well as the existing neighboring house, which is in close proximity to the south side of the property. And their concerns with that, it does obstruct the view and extends in front of both of their properties and changes the streetscape of Summit Drive and is not appropriate for the existing houses that are along that street. So I do have some photos. This is showing the aerial, kind of zoomed out a bit to show the existing streetscape on that side of Summit Drive with the setbacks of the existing houses along that portion of the street. And the applicant has also submitted the following drawings as well. So this is showing the red line is showing a straight line from the furthest house protruding closest to the street along that portion of Summit Drive to show the setback, and that would be the house second from the bottom in black there with the several windows sticking out. And these are shown in two colors. This is blue is the unparalleled sight line that extends along the street, and yellow is the edge of the proposed carport. So the carport and the accompanying portion of the small porch that would go over the front door is shown there outlined in brown to give you an idea of how far past this existing residence it would extend. So as a result of the conversation since the last meeting, the applicant has proposed that they've consulted with their builder and looked at the existing roof line and conditions on the subject property. They're unable to move the carport back, but has instead said that they would be able to shorten it from extending further closer to the street by 2 feet or approximately 0.6 meters. So that would be what they'd be able to do to accommodate the neighbors' concerns. And since they're unable to move it back, it can be shortened in the front so that it's not extending quite so close. So that would be the result of the shortening of the carport, and you can see here on the aerial. So this is to show the revised drawing. Oh, sorry, I don't know why the whole thing's not loading. But that's the house there. I guess you can still see the carport, and the important part to note is the blue there, and that's the existing concrete pathway to the driveway that exists on the property as it is, to give you an idea of how far past the house that the carport would extend. So it's not quite as far as the concrete path, and that's being shortened by that 2 feet or 0.6 meters. So this will show, looking on the ground, you can see as per the drawing that was submitted, it would extend to the farthest portion of that concrete path when you're looking at it from standing on Summit Drive. And that would be in relation to the neighbor's house as well. So there might be further comments. The applicant and the neighbor who both came to the public hearing on August 12th are here tonight. And my recommendation for planning, as a result of the amendment, the change by shortening it for 2 feet does not change my recommendation of approval with the conditions I included in my original report. And that would be that it's shown as in the exterior elevation that accompanied the application, and it's valid for a period of 18 months. That's for the council's consideration now.
Thank you very much, Laura. 5.1.2, opportunity to comment by applicant. Would you like to say anything?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity once again. I just want to touch on 3 points. Maybe I wasn't expansive enough in the first instance. I thought we have another time to discuss again later on. I want to touch on our need for this carport. Compromises made previously and then this one, and also speak to the objections that have been raised against this. I thought the need would be subjective because, as all needs are subjective. If you allow me a brief overview of why we deem this a need for us. We wanted to put both our cars underneath the carport to protect our property from snow, sun, rain, tree branches. There are trees, big trees in the front lots. That the smaller branches that have fell on the cars on the tonneau cover was fine. There might be a big one. So it's firstly to protect our property that is in there. That's the way we've been brought up to. Like, my first, since I've had my first car, it has always been in a garage, actually, not under a carport. Second reason, during winter time, I'm part of the fire department in Wingham. I haven't been there the previous winter, but I don't think I would be able to respond quick enough if I need to clear windows before we get the call at night. I need to go out. Probably spend another 15 minutes before I would be heading to the fire station. The second reason, which is quite important for us as a family, my wife had 2 bone implants in her hip. She had a tumor in the hip in her right ilium. She had 2 bone implants. The one wasn't successful, she broke it again. And then she had a second one, spent 4 months in a wheelchair. And we are absolutely cautious of her falling. The risk of her breaking the hip again is higher than that of a lady over 65. So for us, if I know moving from the garage, which was our initial plan, to the carport, we know we cannot protect the whole area underneath the roof, but at least walking along the house, that would be clear and free of ice. So we are trying to do our best to keep her upright and off that roof. We've had another surprise that added to our need. That surprise would show up around February 14th, quite unplanned. And we've never dealt with a baby under these conditions, and we would like to, while my wife is carrying a car seat and stuff, just to be safe while she goes out there. I don't want to see her spending 4 months again in a wheelchair if they can do another bone implant, or if we will never get there. That's just in brief our need, why we need the 2 cars in there, or our cars in there. Speaking about the compromise, there is a pre-narrative to this application before it landed on your desks. I approached Laura a year and a half back,
Yeah,
Anyways,
small.
quite a while back. And when I approached her in the first instance, it was for the minor variance to build a garage. A garage can be built if you do a full foundational wall with firewall masonry or fire-rated non-combustible construction. There's a way around the fire problem, but then it's a full foundation or something. And from the start, that was a concern, not for us, but about the view and stuff like that. So we've compromised from a garage, which is what we essentially wanted, to a carport. So by the time application landed on these desks, it was already a compromise to a carport. And I noted the concerns from somebody on this side about closing it up later. We are more than willing to make this conditional of this application, that it should never be fully enclosed as a garage. We are happy with the condition for this variance, to keep it as a carport. But we've also then made a second compromise now, making it shorter 2 feet. And with a lot of squeezing things in there and probably having some new parking training, because we've got about that much space between cars to get a minivan. We are into problems, which might be on the cars now because of the new addition. But that's the furthest we can go in making it shorter. I had the builder come out to see if we can move the whole structure next to the house, move it back a bit. The pitch of those original royal homes, the pitch of the roof is 12 to 3. So there's pretty much nothing you can add. If people add, say, a little roof over a porch and they extend it, they can do it from a 12 to 5 or 12 to 3, 12 to 4 maybe, into a 12 to 3. But according to the builder, the 12 to 3 is pretty much the smallest pitch that you can entertain with our snow loads, with snow accumulating on the roof. So that was my initial plan, to just move it back and see if we can get some fill in there, because there's a slope at the back, but the pitch of our current roof is the drawback with that. So I went back to measuring and remeasuring and measuring the cars. I literally measured our cars to see how we can get it in there, and we can do 2 feet less. That's what we can do. But that's as far as we can go. And I remember somebody asked if we can do a part of meter, even 40 centimeters. We can do the 2 feet. We will get it in there within the 2 feet shorter. So we will move it or change it from the 41 feet to the 39 feet. And we are also prepared to have that as condition of the minor variance, that the front post would not extend past 39 feet from the back of the house. So it's not just me saying we are prepared to have that as a condition of the minor variance if it would be allowed. Speaking to the objections that was mentioned against this, the first one was property value, that my neighbor's property value might be brought down by this. If their property value comes down because of this, it means somebody did a bad job on that building, or it was a bad design and a bad plan, which would mean, logically, our property value would also go down if it doesn't fit in. So we are extending that current roof, we're extending the full roof line, everything is going to be the same shingles. So we are fully convinced that no property would lose value because of it. It would look good. We would aim, that's our aim, to have it look good. If it's not going to look good, we don't even want to put it onto our own house ourselves. Another objection was that it is different than everything else in town, and then the neighborhood, and then our street, and then our part of the street. Everything in our street are different. There are 2 houses that's similar currently, 2 houses. That is our 2 houses. Some of them have been built on the original plan, the royal home plan. They've changed. Some have got carports, some have got garages on different sides, some have added breezeways in between the garage and the house. Some have gone up, some have changed the pitch of the roof, some have added dormer roofs. So on the whole of Summer Drive, not just our part of Summer Drive, there's 2 houses that look the same, and that is our 2. So pretty much everything else looks different. Because of additions done after original plans, I don't know how everything looked at the beginning, but pretty much everything in there looks different. Then there was also a complaint that no other house in town looks like this. Well, neighborhood for that matter. And just around our neighborhood, now if you just take our block, which is that area, on Summer Drive, there are 4 houses in that shape, with the L shape with the garage protruding, and they all have garages enclosed. 3 of those 4 are extending further than our original plan, not the minus 2 feet. Those 3 are Summer Drive 267, 296, and 330. So extending from the house line, going further. In John Street, just next to the school, which is still part of our block, there are 4 of them. Then, just going across the trail, Grandview's got 14, Allen's got 1, Calling Terrace has got 3, Charles Street has got 3, Park Drive has. So that is a shape that you would find in this town, the L shape with main house and a garage extending to the front. As I mentioned that we are going further forward than anybody else in the street, and I get it if we're just speaking about our part of the street after the turn that Summer Drive made, and you have seen on the slides that there's already a house protruding way more forward, and that line parallel to the street line is cutting our cement pathway in half. Then there's a second line, a sight line of the second tier houses. It's not fully parallel to connect those 2 houses, and they just touch our pathway. We are going to end up with our furthest post 6 feet before the pathway. So we would be on the same line essentially as the second tier houses. So there would only be 2 houses that's back further, would be our neighbor on the one side and our neighbors on both sides, and the one on our right on that side would be the furthest back of all the houses on that street. But there's already a house protruding further than we are. There was an objection mentioned that it will spoil the view. 2 views, it's a street view and one from inside the house. From inside the house, our cars, now we would fit them in underneath the roof. Normally, we would have been backed up a bit. So the back of my truck would normally end at the end of the concrete pathway. So essentially, the cars were blocking the view, and they are moving even further now. So because we want to have them in there, that's why we're trying to build that. The street view, I don't believe that it will do anything damageful to the street view. I've got your signatures of. I'm missing one other neighbor, which is right on the end of the streets. They're on the US for holidays. They might be coming back today or tomorrow. But I've got the people that got notices, and then another one just a bit further down the street. So everybody on that part of our street, in that line, signed letters stating, I, the undersigned, have no objection to the minor variance application submitted by our neighbor, Carl Grunding of 356 Summer Drive. It is 355 Summit, 352, 362, 359, 364. I've signed it. They don't have any objections with this going forward. I think something that might have been detrimental in the first meeting is the drawing that was done on the survey. Just because of the perception. The drawing on the survey, the front line is not the street. That is the lot line. And there's another 4 meters after the building line to the street. And that, for me, gives the impression that it's extending quite a bit further forward than the perception you would have if you see the whole picture like the ones that Laura showed. So, just coming down again to the conditions, we are prepared to accept as conditions for this approval that we don't enclose it fully as a garage. So we are fine if that's a condition of this approval, and we are fine if it's conditional to this approval that we will not extend further than 39 meters from the back of the house to the front post of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very kindly. 5.1.3, opportunity for comments by others in attendance. Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah. Ross
If you don't
Schroeder.
mind just giving your name first. So
Yeah, Ross Schroeder, 360 Summer Drive, right beside the airport. Have to commend Carl for pushing it back a couple feet, but it still sticks out beyond the profile of my home. I don't care so much if it sticks out by profile of his house, but it could devalue my home, and no one's really giving me an answer about it. That's my main concern. The street state, it's gonna be an odd looking structure. It's not gonna fit anything in the neighborhood the way it sits now. Right, that's pretty well all I have to say. It's, my main concern is my value of my home, the street state. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mayor Finley. 5.1.4, opportunity to comment by Committee of Adjustment members. Do I have questions, comments? See, go ahead, Chris.
Laura, through you, Reeve. Laura, you went through it quickly. Where is it going to be, the far side, like the house side of the cement?
Yes, here, I can go back to, and if you want
Because
to
the
see-
drawing is lousy. It doesn't, it's very hard for us to
For this one?
decide, yeah.
Here we have the aerial photo, so you can see hopefully that brown square. So it's
Okay.
on the edge of the cement path closest to the house.
Yeah, I guess,
This is
If that is
that's
here.
the slide that I've shown. I'm not sure why it's all blown out and showing.
I guess a concern I have, and I had it before, still sits with me, it's the perception of the house. I traveled the road to see what it was like, and yes, there are a couple other carports, and they're all flush with the front of their homes. As far as the one larger house, or protruding closer to the road, you don't, well, okay, you see it there, but you don't notice it when you're on the street. Everybody's the same on the street, as far as setback, you can't tell. I'm glad there was a compromise, sir. That was very important, that I see something, some movement on your side, so that's good. But, you know, we use those 4 tests in the Planning Act to decide whether an easement's good or whatever, a variance. And number 3, I don't see it as bang on, you know, as desirable for the appropriate development of the lands in question. It definitely, this is different. It's gonna look different from the streetscape, from the street. And, you know, I do sympathize with the neighbor and what he's thinking, what he perceives. It's a concern, and all concerns are viable. So I don't see it conforming with point 3.
First of all, congratulations on your surprise that's going to your family. I actually don't see any objection with the new adjustment. I think it is making the front of the house look a little bit more modern, and it looks good. The neighbor, if you can see on that picture, could do the same thing in a couple of years if he wishes to, or if he's selling his house. I think a variety of houses, and he's doing a little porch, so that looks pretty attractive. Yeah, the way it is right now with the compromise, it looks pretty good to me. And for vision, somebody could plant a big tree and the vision from out of the house is disappeared as well. Or some other something to put there that you can develop what is permitted.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Trevor.
You know, I think my biggest concern of the discussion I've heard is we're trying to determine what looks right or doesn't look right, or that is, in my impression, in my opinion, I'm using this as my opinion, we are not to be deciding what is being built on somebody's property. The rules are in place to allow us to, if it conforms with the property standards bylaw, if it conforms with the zoning, then it conforms. If we are gonna get into the idea of dictating to owners of properties of what they're gonna build and not build, the argument there could be, you know, when we wanna build something, are we gonna be okay with every taxpayer or ratepayer coming in and telling us it looks good or it doesn't? So I think we gotta be careful about what we are deciding is the reasons that we're going to object or agree or accept as it relates to a minor variance. You know, I'm not concerned about the vision. It's not, I just want to make sure that it conforms with the bylaw as it reads and that it's minor in nature. And if it's minor in nature, that's subjective in its own right. Laura's perception of what's minor in nature and our perception of what's minor in nature is different. If there was a concern from that perspective, I would be an issue. I don't have a concern from it whether it's minor in nature. I think it is, in my opinion, and that's only my opinion, not everybody else's. So I think I just want to make sure that we're comfortable that we're not dictating to people about what they should and shouldn't build on their property. Because if the applicant came to us with the garage, it's a structure. He could have built it originally. The house was built with the garage the same way. We couldn't have done anything about it at that point. So I'm concerned about how we dictate what applications and how we look at them. And that's only my impression with the conversation over the past meeting as well as this meeting tonight. So that's only my comments here.
Thank you. Anyone else? I would just like to commend you two gentlemen on, this has been very difficult, I'm sure, as neighbors. I want to commend both of you for working together and trying to sort this out, and compromises have been made, and you've acknowledged that compromises were made. So that's kind of good life, because we do sometimes have some pretty good scraps in here. So we really appreciate you as two northerners to get along and try to work this out. Laura, you're up for the last comments.
Oh, well, I guess the variance that was applied for is from the interior side yard, but Councilor Palmer does make an important point that appropriateness is one of the tests. So that is up for committee's deliberation and consideration of the entire application for the variance from the interior side yard and to permit the use in the encroachment.
Okay, thank you, Laura. We're going to go to number 6. I'm going to read this off and see where we go. Decision of the Committee of Adjustment in effect of the comments received on the committee's decision. That the Committee of Adjustment hereby recommend to North Huron Council that minor variance application MV06-19 as it applies to 356 Summit Drive, Lot 9, Lingham Ward, Township of North Huron, applicant owners Carl and Melinda Runledge, and I do apologize again, be approved with the conditions set by the Huron County Planning Development Report, prepared by Laura Simpson on the August 12, 2019 Committee of Adjustment meeting. Do I have a mover?
So just in that motion, it doesn't have to be recommended to council, so the committee, that's just a mere motion there.
Oh.
But, so basically I can read that the Committee of Adjustment hereby recommends, but as it applies to minor variance, they either approve, defer, deny. The committee can do that themselves
Yeah.
without recommending it to
Yeah.
council.
So you can go 3 other ways if you don't want this one. Go ahead, Laura.
I'm sorry, Reed, I just wanted to add that, as Carl mentioned, he is open to additional conditions being added, should council wish to include that as part of the motion.
Would someone like to approve this motion or make a different motion?
I'll move approval.
Do I have a seconder? Anita? Questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, I call the vote. All in favor? Carries. Thank you very much. Point 7, reminder of appeal period. My variant, oh yes.
Yep, go ahead, Laura.
So to summarize the comments that were received, we did receive concerns and objections from members of the public, and we didn't receive any concerns or objections so there were no agency comments other than myself.
Now, somebody like to put,
So, Bree, sorry,
yes, go ahead.
so public comments were received on the issue. Comments were addressed through conditions, so really, the conditions are based on the Planning Act. We've not currently added any more conditions that Carl has suggested tonight. And I honestly don't think we need to. The building code basically supersedes the conditions of that, saying you can't go and close it up without building permit, which then would require him to come again through the whole process again. So I don't know that we need to supersede one versus the other to make it complicated. But there was, but I think the one that for me, it's 5, there was concerns raised, but didn't necessarily influence the decision. They were received and reviewed, but the effect did not influence the decision of council. That would be my impression of 5A. The one that I'm concerned of is, and that would then also then be 5B as well. Because really the conditions don't correct the objections. It's just an objection of what is being presented. None of the conditions in which would be 4B basically adjusted. So again, me only is 5A and 5B.
Does council have any problems with 5A and 5B? Seeing none,
Then I'll move
you're
that.
gonna move that?
Yeah, I will move that.
Seconder, please. It is Kevin. All in questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carries. Now, a reminder of the appeal period. Minor variance procedures following public meeting. The Secretary Treasurer sends within 10 days a certified copy of the decision indicating the last day of appealing to the Ontario Municipal Board, OMB. 2. A, the applicant, B, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing if requested. C, each person who appeared in person or by counsel at the hearing or who filed with the Secretary Treasurer a written request for notice of the decision. If no appeal lodged after the 20th day objection period has expired and no appeal has been lodged, the decision of the Committee of Adjustment is final and binding. The Secretary Treasurer shall notify the applicant. If a notice of appeal is lodged within 20 days of the Committee of Adjustment making a decision, the appeal is lodged with the Secretary Treasurer outlining the reasons for such an appeal, and said appeal is accompanied by the required fee of $300, the Committee of Adjustment no longer retains jurisdiction over the application. If a proper appeal is lodged, the Secretary Treasurer requires to provide proper notice to the Ontario Municipal Board, OMB. Adjournment, that there is no further business with the Committee of Adjustment, the public hearing hereby adjourns at 6:05. Do I have a mover? Trevor, seconder. Rick, all in favor? Carries. Thank you.